Welcome to Inside the Canopy Files, a production of Canopy Realtor Association in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Today, it's almost unwise to make business decisions without considering the global supply chain or the global economy. Over the past 50 years, advancements in technology have brought the world closer together, touching each of our lives in countless ways. Whether in the U.S. or abroad, we are all a part of a growing global network. Hi, I'm Kristie Ferguson, realtor and real estate instructor, and your host today on Inside the Canopy Files podcast. I'm excited to be here talking with Matt Christopherson, Director of Business and Consumer Research at the National Association of Realtors, about the recent international transactions and U.S. residential real estate reports and the data that supports why realtors should consider expanding their businesses globally. Let's get into it. And we're back. We are talking global business development and networking for the local realtor community. My guest today is Matt Christopherson. And Matt, I mentioned that you are Director of Business and Consumer Research at the National Association of Realtors. Talk to me about what you do at NAR and how that impacts the global programming from the National Association.
Yeah, so first off, thanks for having me. So I'm part of the research group, which is almost entirely based in our Washington, D.C. office. In my role, I conduct and produce public-facing research, resources for our realtor members. Our goal in the research group is to produce and provide information that's timely, digestible, relevant, and impactful for realtors in their daily practice. I also work with the research committee within the NAR membership. So we have constant and direct feedback and dialogue with members to make sure that we're providing information on the most hard-hitting and important topics in any given year. Essentially, our goal is to provide data-driven insights to realtors to help you all succeed in your business. Also, the global team does a lot to build and grow international networks of realtors around the globe. They're all held to the same professional standards as our American realtors. And the research that I conduct on international transactions really guides the global team so that they're setting up networks specifically in those countries and regions where we know demand is coming from and where our US clients might be searching as well. And they also use that information to in instructional materials for the CIPS and other educational courses as well.
Speaking of research, I'd love to catch up on some of your latest research. What are your top 5 national highlights or observations from this year's report?
Yeah, so we've been conducting this report annually since 2009. So we actually have years of great data and look at any changes and trends. But we had a few highlights from this year. First off, it was the first increase in purchases from foreign buyers since 2017. It was actually a 44% year over year increase, so it was significant, but still was the second lowest level of foreign purchases since we began collecting this. And it makes up just 2.5% of the total dollar volume of home sales in the US. So a smaller piece of the pie, if you will, but I see that as a lot of room for potential growth. China regained the top spot as the top origin of our foreign buyers this year. Despite the high home prices, California moved up in the share of foreign purchases, with getting 15% of our foreign buyers. Also, the majority of our foreign buyers, 56%, reside in the US. I think there's a little bit of a perception of foreign buyers as living abroad and simply being investment buyers here, but actually the majority of our foreign buyers reside in the US. Also, this year we saw the highest share we've seen purchasing for student use. So it's still just 6% of our foreign buyers, but we're seeing a rise in people purchasing property for students while they're in school. And also we saw the highest percent purchasing in urban areas, in downtowns, in central cities at 40%. So it's a pretty high percentage.
So, and that's one of the things, like, what people are buying, right? It's not just investment, it's legacy. It's
Hmm.
also, vacation homes as well. So it's not just let me buy something to lease it out or rent it out. People
Exactly.
are really, planting some roots
Hmm.
in the area, which is awesome. Going back to that rebound in foreign investment since 2017, I think some of that can be attributed to, the global recovery after the pandemic. But what else do you see as a major factor in that?
Yeah, so we obviously have had a couple years now of much slower home sales, but that actually brings about more opportunity for those foreign buyers to come in while our domestic buyers are kind of locked into super low rates or waiting for our current rates to lower. So there's more opportunity there for these foreign buyers where they're more often paying all cash. But also some other markets like China, for example, their housing market has had a really slow recovery coming out of the pandemic. So they're looking elsewhere. And the US is an awesome place because their investment will continue to grow. Our home prices are continuing to rise. But also they're gaining much more rights as property owners in this country than they do in a lot of other nations.
Hmm. And I think too, we talk about affordability, and that's relative.
Hmm.
It's a hot button issue, as it should be in our cities and metro areas in the United States. But on a global perspective, the United States is more affordable than other, larger global cities. So I think that's an interesting aspect as well. I am sure that our listeners are anxious to know what the global impact is here in the greater Charlotte area specifically. What were your top observations or highlights from the report that reveal how our area is showing up in the global marketplace?
Yeah, so this is now the second consecutive year that we've collected data and produced this report specifically for the Charlotte market. So what we see is it's clear that foreign buyers and investors are seeing the value in the Charlotte market. They're generally getting much more for their money as compared to where they come from, but they're gaining an affordable but high quality of life in a major financial hub with tons of business opportunities, great education, and more, while having a growing asset in US real estate. In this year's report, we saw that foreign buyers purchased about $665 million worth of Charlotte real estate this past year. By the way, that's covering April through March. So this is prior to the announcement of tariffs. So that's important to note. The top countries of origin of Charlotte's foreign buyers, the number one origin was actually a bit surprising. It was the United Arab Emirates, UAE, likely seeing the business opportunities that are here. That's followed by China, Canada, and India, which are also in the top five among foreign buyers nationally. The far majority of Charlotte's foreign buyers, two-thirds of them, live in the US. So they've moved here within the past 2 years and they're becoming citizens or they're here on a visa for professional, educational, other reasons. One in five, 20% of Charlotte's foreign buyers paid all cash, which is impressive given that their median purchase price was over $531,000. That's actually higher than the median purchase price of foreign buyers nationally and also US buyers during that same period of time. So they're spending a bit more. And finally, the most common use of the purchased properties by these foreign buyers is as a primary residence. So that makes sense given the majority are residing in the US and might make a bit more sense on that price tag that they're paying given that they're buying their personal homes.
So I was really surprised when the report came out to see UAE at the top for the Charlotte area. But I was also thinking about some news that I heard from our airport, which is an international airport.
Mhm.
There are, they're building new runways, and now we have several direct flights to UAE back and forth. And so I just think that, the research is obviously aligning. The airport's not going to build a runway for more international flights if we
Mhm.
don't have the interest. So I just think it's always cool to see how research aligns in that way. So it's
Yes.
pretty interesting.
Yeah, so how Did you decide to expand your business, and how have you gotten involved with kind of international aspect of real estate?
So I think, thank you for asking.
Mhm,
I think a lot of answers start off with, I love to travel, right? So
mhm.
I love to travel. When I was in college, it was 1999, and a lot of our listeners will probably not remember this, but in 1999, we thought the world was going to end, right? I remember,
Y2K.
yeah, Y2K. I remember we talked about the zippers had Y2K on them, and, the computers were going to combust. So I was in college, and I woke up one day and I said, I want to go to Africa. Bless my mom, right? She made it happen for me. But I took my first plane ride ever, went to New York by myself, and went to Ghana and taught preschool in a program. And so when I think about my interest in international real estate, I really go back to that moment because that was the seed that was planted. And so when I met my husband, he was um, of equal, he had the travel bug as well.
Mhm.
And so we had a conversation when we were getting ready to get married about what we thought our future was going to look like. And it involved a passport book and passport stamps. And so we took an amazing trip in 2015. We did 7 countries in 30
Wow.
days, a European trip. It was self itinerary. And when we like to travel, we like to do full immersion, right?
Mhm.
So we would stay in short term rentals. We wanted to experience the area as if we were locals. And so I started to make friends all over the world. And those friends have real estate needs, right? And so in 2018 is when I earned my CIPS designation. And that's another story for another time because I took it virtually in a computer room in a hotel in Tijuana. That's a different story.
Truly
It was
international.
truly international, boots on the ground. But I will tell you to, trusting the timing and seizing opportunities is something that I'm always mindful of because having my CIPS designation, getting my feet wet, if you will, and being able to refer people, that helped sustain me during the pandemic. So once, I'm in all these travel groups, and once people in the travel groups had the opportunity to work remotely, I was able to be a conduit and match them up with people and the areas that they were going. So it
Very
really worked
cool.
out for me. So that's kind of how I got into international real estate, if you will. And then with what Canopy is trying to do, what Canopy is doing, we had we'll call it an interest meeting, a task force meeting in spring of last year to put together the thought of having a global business council for our association. And so I went to that meeting and here we are now. So
Mhm.
that's been my journey. But I think that brings up a very important question is why business councils, why global business councils are important. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think they're essential. One of the first steps that they offer is educating yourselves. It's really important to know what's happening in different markets, where opportunities lie, where demand comes from, but also how to conduct business. These are people that are there to share knowledge and learn from each other. But also, it's a direct networking opportunity with people all over the world. I think we have over 130 global business councils just in the US. So it's not like you're immediately jumping in and speaking to someone that speaks a different language. You can really build up your knowledge and your skills here first, and connect with people all over the world with the same professional standards and expertise. And how about here? Is there anything exciting happening with Canopy's Global Council?
Actually, there really is. I was speaking to our staff liaison, Karen Lindsay, director of global professional development and DIA. I was speaking to Karen, and it's amazing how we have gone from a room filled with interested people and a lot of sticky notes to having our second annual event. Our last event was August 15th last year, and we
Wow.
pulled off, a day-long event like we're getting ready to do today. So there's been so much exciting, interesting, beneficial things that we've been working on. One thing that we are going to launch today, and by the time this podcast is out, we would have launched it, so I'm not spilling the beans. But we have really been working on curating some resources for the community, for our realtor community, to be able to go to a one-stop shop and find information, events, research, ways to connect. And we are going to launch our Canopy Global platform today. So I'm
Awesome.
really proud of that because I have a visual on my desk of how many sticky notes that took. So to see where we've gone from 365 days ago to where we are now has been, it makes us really proud. So we are, I think when we had our strategic planning meeting in last November, I think we've planned out about 5 years worth of stuff. And so there's only, up from here, we are going into our second year of actually having this committee. And I think we're definitely making a footprint.
Absolutely. I know you guys are a younger global council, but it's really cool to see how quickly you guys have hit the ground running.
Awesome. We appreciate that. We
Yeah.
appreciate you being here. We are all about the consumers, right? That is what realtors do. How might consumers benefit from realtors getting involved in global programming and education?
So part of this is just market knowledge. Consumers go to their realtors expecting them to be experts in the neighborhood, but also in the housing market and where to look. Think of if you have a seller client, maybe they have a house sitting on the market a bit longer than they want. You can use knowledge like from these international resources to know where to expand your marketing into other countries, even to really open up your pool of potential buyers and interest. So there's really so many ways that the consumers can benefit from their realtors being more involved in these activities.
Friends, I want you to rewind that back because that was a business builder right there. Matt is dropping knowledge for us. Matt, thank you so much for being here today to review the Canopy and NAR international transactions and residential real estate reports. And I think we did talk that hopefully one day the title has less words in it. It's definitely a mouthful, but we appreciate you and what NAR is doing to support this growth education at our associations and associations around the country. The impact of this programming is starting to be seen in our association, and we are only 2 years old. So greater impact is coming, and we're grateful for it. Charlotte area realtors, if you'd like to learn more about global real estate and the value of this type of education, as you expand your business, reach out to us at canopyrealtors.com/global-home. You don't have to remember that. We will have it in our show notes. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Inside the Canopy Files, presented by Canopy Realtor Association in Charlotte, North Carolina. Connect with us online at carolinahome.com.